And now, ConBravo is over. It's actually been over for a while. I've just been sort of living in the past for the last little while, on top of having a bit of a con flu and a bunch of other things that have kept me kind of weighed down slightly as of late. I don't know, what do you call this? Like the real con blues or something? I don't know. Either way, I recently went to ConBravo. It is a convention that takes place, or it has been taking place, every year in Hamilton for the last couple of years. This will be my second time going, and it was my first time as a guest. I was there for a bunch of days. Went in on a last Thursday, came home on Sunday, had an absolutely amazing time, and honestly, it was probably one of my favorite conventions that I've gone to in the past couple of years. In trying to come up with what I wanted to do for a vlog of this thing, like I figured I could always just stand in front of my camera and talk for like ever about all the wonderful and awesome fucking things that happened. Pardon my swearing. But I figured that would take too much time, so I wanted to just condense it down to at least one really big thing that happened each day. Alright? I'm going to start with Thursday. Now, Thursday normally isn't a big day for cons. Like, sometimes all that really happens on the Thursday is you're traveling to the con, you check into the hotel, and maybe you pick up your pre-reg pass. That's generally about it. And then, you might have dinner with whoever you went to the con with. It's a fairly relaxing day. We went to an escape room. So as part of the con, some of the people that were running the con did this thing up for guests where they booked a slot in one of the escape rooms in Hamilton, and they gathered a bunch of guests and so forth, and we went to the escape room. What actually ended up happening is that a lot of people weren't either there yet or weren't interested in the escape room, so it ended up being guests and friends of guests, which worked out really great for me because I had a lot of friends of guests who I was staying with, but none of them were actually guests. And I actually at first felt really bad because I was like, well, I'm going to go do this escape room. You guys have fun here in the hotel, I guess. Bye. And then it turned out that they could all come. So it was great. If you don't know what an escape room is, it's basically self-explanatory. You and a couple of people are thrown into a room with a door. The door is locked in that, yes, you can technically open it, but that breaks the illusion. They're not actually allowed to lock you into a room, but you have to escape from it. So there are usually a couple of puzzles that lead to more puzzles, that lead to more puzzles, that lead to a keypad that you can use to get out. We went to the Crux escape rooms in Hamilton. There were two different escape rooms. There was the Voodoo room, which I didn't pass. We did not successfully complete the Voodoo room, but the Voodoo room has like a 25% success rate. So that's to be expected. According to the guy that was running it for us, though, he was just like, no, you guys did really well. So we were proud of that. The other one was Aunt Edna's condo, which isn't necessarily an escape room per se. It was more so solve all these puzzles to solve this riddle to get certain items onto a table, also find the secret inheritance. There were a lot of really cool stuff in that. And most of that was just puzzles, and that one just... I think I like the theme of that one better because it was mostly 80s stuff, and they had 80s music playing the entire time. For the entire hour you were in the room trying to solve all the puzzles. Such a good time. But that was great because I was able to go and I got to spend time with the friends that I went with, and I didn't have to worry about being in a social situation with a bunch of people I didn't know. And that was what was worried about me. But but the escape room was supposed to be like an icebreaker type of thing, and I knew basically everybody there. So there were the people that I brought with me, there were the guests that I knew of, like Rerez and so forth. I met Animat beforehand, and he was there, and he joined us, and that was a load of fun. That was my Thursday, and I had a great Thursday. Now, Friday was our chill day. We didn't really do much on Friday, but that's because there wasn't too much to do. Friday was technically the first day of the con, and nothing in the con really happened until after opening ceremonies, and opening ceremonies wasn't until like 4:35, so there was a giant chunk of the day where nothing con related was going on, but we still did a lot of hanging out as a group together in my little party of people. So we did a lot of hanging out, a lot of chillaxing, which was great. I got to go and pick up my con badge, which was great. It had a guest on it. I have it in the other room in my pile upon pile of con badges, because I keep all of those. I have every con badge, not in that pile. Some are still at my dad's place because I never transferred them. But I have every con badge for every con I've ever been to. A lot of them are Anime North badges because I've been to that con for like 12 years. But this is adding to it, and this will be the first time I really felt like the word guest on it meant something. Because, like, I've been technically a guest at cons before. I was a guest at Too Many Games, not this past year, but the year before. I was a guest at EGLX earlier this year. But in both of those cases, not to the detriment of the con or anything, guest just kind of felt like con-goer with benefits. In that, like, you could go places. It felt more like a premium badge than anything else. But this time, it like really felt like guest. There were like guest related things that happened to ConBravo that could only happen to guests. You were able to go and do things. You had your own lounge that you could go and meet other guests in. There was a guest only breakfast, which I never partook in because that wouldn't be fair to the other people I was rooming with, so we normally went and got breakfast together. The mere fact that I was able to do things like D20 Live on Saturday, which I'm getting to, is all because I was a guest. And yeah, it just felt really nice. So that was the first time I truly felt the guestiness of a guest con. The con also paid to actually transport me to the con, which they didn't need to do, but it was the general feel of, well, I live here, the con is here. I could go all the way down here through public transit and take 5 hours to get there, or they could get me a cab and it would just go from here and it would be an hour, which made a lot more sense to me, and they were fine with that, and I was like, cool. But no, Friday was the day that was like very, very chill. Not a lot happened on Friday. We just kind of chilled out. No, we went to see a movie. On Friday, that is what we did. We went to a movie. Because there was not much else to do, so we went and we saw Ghostbusters. Can't remember the reason why we saw Ghostbusters. The toss-up was between Ghostbusters and Star Trek, and majority voted Ghostbusters, so we went and saw Ghostbusters. Now, it wasn't a horrible movie. I know there's a giant-ass controversy on the internet right now about Ghostbusters, and I'm not getting into that. It wasn't a terrible movie. It wasn't a terribly great movie either. So it was just kind of meh and a good way to pass a couple of hours. So that's what we did. And that was Friday. Now, Saturday had a lot of really cool things with it. I went to a couple of panels. I helped run a couple of panels. I was on the 2016 anime season panel. I was on a Persona panel. And those were all really cool. But obviously, to me, the best part of my Saturday was D20 Live. So D20 Live is run by Big Mike. He's from the comedy troupe 404. And every year for the past 5 years now, this year was the 5th, he's grabbed a bunch of the guests from the con together, put them on a stage for a couple of hours in the evening on Saturday, and ran some semblance of a tabletop game. For a couple of years, it was variations on Pathfinder. Last year, they did a game using the Firefly RPG. And today, or not today, and then this year, he did a variation on Besom, which is a game system called Big Eye Small Mouth, and he themed it to be Attack on Titan themed. Why he chose this, well, you'll have to ask him. But I thought that was cool because that was decided before I was announced as a guest, and I was just like, hell yes, I will be in a tabletop game based on Attack on Titan. So I've known about D20 Live and the fact that I was going to be sort of in it since January. I was basically told multiple times that, yeah, I should be in it, depending on who the con grabs as other guests and who the con would prefer to be in it over me, because I did not have preference, which is fine because I was able to get in and it was all cool. And then about a month before the con, I got the email going out for D20 Live saying, hey, everybody, here's D20 Live, here's what we expect, here's what we're going to know from you. By the way, one of the people playing is going to be Christopher R. Sabat. I flipped shit that day. So I don't want to spoil too much about what happened at D20 Live. Mostly because it was recorded, and when the D20 Live crew put it up on their YouTube channel, I will link it to shit because it was a lot of fun. But let me just generally set the stage. The 4 players were members of the military, the inner military, of the world of Attack on Titan, and we had a mission to go and get some guy, and lots of shit happened, and at some point we fought Titans. So here was our crew. I'm going to start at the end of the table and move towards the DM. At the end of the table was Christopher Sabat, who played Sir Steve, the Birdman. And that nickname, the Birdman, has a very hilarious story, and hopefully people will enjoy it when we see it. Sir Steve is the reason why we did not play a serious game. Probably. I'm not sure how much prep that Sabbath had before this, but and he kept on apologizing all the way through. He was just like, I don't know if I was being too wacky or scared or screwing everything up. And we were like, yeah, no, that's what you're supposed to do. Generally. Like, you can have serious games, and I was prepped for a serious game because I didn't know, and I wanted to be prepared just in case. But it's usually more fun if you just go and do random shit, and it was just a 2-hour one-shot anyway, so it was fine. So he was the reason why we didn't do a serious game, taking my, 2-page character backstory and shoving it out the window, but that was fine because I had a blast.
I'm sorry, this is Steve. We haven't met. Sir Steve, thanks.
That's not an official rank we follow here, soldier.
Oh, that's fine. Just as my friends call me Sir Steve. That's
noted.
I just want to tell you I'm having a great time here in your office. And
your pleasure in this entire military endeavor has been noted.
Who let the
repeatedly.
peasant?
sweet.
Next to him was Kaluna Reviews, who was trying to be like the straight man. That's who she ended up being, and she did an absolutely brilliant job. She got a couple of good kill shots in. She kept on getting upstaged by our DM at points, and that was kind of funny to just see her go, "Oh, come on," and that was it was kind of sad, but it was also funny. It added to the hilarity of it. I was next to her, and I originally planned my character to be the medic, because that's generally where I like to be. I like to be a support character. However, there's only so much you can do medic-wise when you're attacking titans who can cleave you in half and just eat you whole. You can't really heal that. So I just became a general all-around fighter. And as a player, I turned into a very creative rules lawyer. Much to the entertainment of the audience and much to the unhappiness of our DM. And then next to me on the end was Linkara, who was doing his absolute best to try and steer this flaming ship in the right direction as it sank. It's the best way I can describe what he was trying to do. He did well. We succeeded, sort of. Not really. You'll have to watch, but he did a very good job of trying to keep us on course, and it worked out really well. And then at the very, very end of the table, you had our DM, Mike, who started off with a great game, and then you can, if I don't think a camera was directly pointed at his face, but if it was, you could see the moment where everything started going to shit. All of his careful planning and playtesting of the module, all of that slowly crumbling, and he was just losing it, and it was amazing. He enjoyed himself, ultimately, but, on stage, you could just see him losing it. He was losing sanity points, even though sanity had nothing to do with our game. But that's just kind of how it went, and it was just an absolutely amazing time. Again, when it is done and it is up, I will link it to shit. I'll add it into the description when that happens. So if it's not in the description, that means it hasn't happened yet, or it hasn't been uploaded yet. But when it is, I hope you guys enjoy, because that was just amazing. And then moving on quickly to Sunday, because I already feel like I've been talking about this for quite a while now. Sunday was my panel, sort of. Or the closest thing I had to my panel. It wasn't just my panel. It was the Let's Talk Anime and YouTube panel, and it was a panel between me and Erica Zaba, who I will also link in the description. I linked her before in my announcement video that I was going to ConBravo because I knew the thing was coming, but she's a really great person and a really great video maker, and if you want to go check out her shit, you can do so. So, I didn't have very high hopes for this panel, not because I didn't think that we were going to be able to run a good panel, because I thought we could. It was mostly going to end up being a Q&A panel from the start, because that's kind of how it is. We would set up an intro of what we do, and it would basically be like, okay, so anything related to anime, YouTube, specifically what we do, let us know, and that'd be great. There was only so much you could do without developing a full-on presentation, and sometimes those don't always work that well. And I don't want to just talk to the audience. I wanted to kind of interact with them. I'm pretty sure Erica felt the same way, so that's what we ended up doing. But the thing is that our panel was at 4:30. No, it was at 4 p.m. on Sunday. If you've ever run a panel before, you might know that that is a really horrible time slot, because if anybody's only staying until Sunday, because it's the last day of the con, most people are kicked out of their hotel by now. Hotel checkout was officially noon, so anybody that could go to that panel either was local, was staying till Monday, or for whatever reason didn't need to fly or drive out. Half the guests had already left at this point. I'd said goodbyes to a number of people by this point, even people that weren't guests and actually lived nearby that I knew that we were at with the con. They were gone by this point. So going into that panel, I was like, there'll probably be a couple of people, and we'll just have a nice little chat. We ended up almost filling the room. And I thought that was very surprising, considering the time of day. Maybe nothing else interesting was going on, which could very well be possible. But we basically filled the room. It wasn't like filled. It was like anywhere between 80 to 90% of all the seats were taken. Which, considering our time slot, I actually thought that was absolutely amazing. I wasn't expecting much, and we ended up getting a lot of really nice people. A lot of really good questions, as well as far as like what we did, how we felt about a variety of different topics relating to anime and YouTube, and it was an absolutely amazing panel. And I think that went a lot better than some of the other panels that I was on. Not that the other panels I was on did horribly, of course. Like the 2016 panel on the Saturday did great. We talked about a lot of things that were airing. We kept forgetting about things because there was just so many things. And then the Persona panel went equally well. But this one was just, I think I'm putting so much goodness on it because it just far exceeded everything I was expecting. Because it was just like, we were in a shitty hour on a shitty time slot. Nobody was going to show up. And then people did. And we had a great panel. So that was really, really cool. Yeah. And then I got in a car and I got driven home and came home. And now it's over. I suppose when this video goes up, it means that I actually got to take off the @ConBravo thing on my Twitter, which I usually I don't really forget about taking that off every time I go to a con, but it's just sad because cons are always a good time for me. And I still have some cons left. I have 2 cons left this year. I have one convention in September. Yeah, in September, I'm going to be in Corner Brook, Newfoundland for Atlanticon. And then at the beginning of November, I'm going to be in Detroit for Youmacon. Never been to Atlanticon before, but I know Corner Brook like the back of my hand, unless they built and changed everything. A lot of things changed in Corner Brook since the last couple of times I've been there. And I've been to Youmacon before. I went last year, and I had a lot of fun, so I'm hoping that Youmacon is going to be equally as fun this year, and then that's con season for this year. Granted, it won't actually be that long because MagFest is apparently going to be in January this year instead of February, so I'll just have to go through all of November, December as a whole, and then January, probably early January, and then MagFest starts up again. So there isn't that much of a giant break in con season for me. I seem to be going to a con once every 2 months, is seeming to be how shit lines up. Sometimes they're closer together, sometimes they're further away. Well, that's kind of how it goes, and with luck, I'll be able to go to more cons next year. That's the hope. That all depends on my budget and how much I'm able to do. Like, I get a lot of questions from people, hey, can you come to this con or that con? And I'm just like, I don't have a reason to go to this con in the middle of nowhere. Well, not always in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes they're actually in fairly big places. The most recent one, I think yesterday, somebody asked me if I was going to go to a con in Edmonton. And I was like, I'd love to go to Edmonton. I have no reason to fly out to Edmonton, and I only have so much money. So generally, if I'm going to a con, it's because I have a reason to go there. Either because they invited me, I know people who are going, either personally, or I know guests that are going because I want to meet them. And that sort of thing, which is what would make me actually make sure I spent money and go to a con. But I have a lot of money to figure out for next year because I have a bunch of different cons I want to go to. I basically want to go to every con that I went to this year and a couple of other ones on top of that, which is going to be unlikely because I only have so much money. So like I really want to go to Anime Boston again, but I also want to go to AX. And like the reason why I went to Anime Boston this year is because I couldn't go to AX. So I just took my Amex money and threw it at Boston, and then I was able to go. So now I need to figure out something else. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up cutting AX this year again. I don't know. AX is expensive, but everybody goes to AX, so it's kind of you always feel like you're missing out. But maybe I'll just make my own convention, blackjack and hookers, and that'll be great. Going to conventions is fun. I'm very, very much looking forward to ConBravo next year because if it's even just on par with this year, it'll be an amazing con. I enjoyed myself heavily. With luck, they'll invite me back. With even greater luck, I'll be on D20 Live again. Both things happening, I think, are going to be unlikely. Guest, probably not so, because I'm a fairly cheap guest for them to have, because I'm local. They just need to get me to the con, and that's about it. D20 Live is a bit more iffy because I had an in this year because they were doing Attack on Titan, and I was like, if you do Attack on Titan and you don't have an anime reviewer that you invited as a guest on that panel, like something's wrong. But I don't have that in next year because apparently they're doing a Star Wars game, and I don't really have an in with Star Wars at all. I'd enjoy it, shit, but I don't really have an in, so if they bring on any kind of science fiction-like guests, they have infinite priority over me. But maybe I'll be a nice backup or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out when it comes to it. And if I get in, I get in. If not, well, I will enjoy myself in the audience, which is probably going to be a nice place to be. But yeah, that is my con experience. Hopefully I haven't bored you for too much. And until next time, stay frosty, everybody. Later.